what has happened since October 7th, that we have seen President Biden drop out of the race, and the Democrats bring in someone new. That was obviously the vice president, but got no votes for a primary. We've had we've had debates. We've learned who Tim Walz is. We've learned more about J.D. Vance. We have seen a former president, current presidential candidate, be shot live on stage and then return to that city like he did over the weekend with a rally that Elon Musk, of all people, if you would put that down on the board, that Elon Musk would be doing rallies with President Trump. But I think it all started with October 7th because it showed the world the brutality and the hatred that was the evil that was still brewing inside the world of radical Islam.
Yeah, and currently, we can't forget the fact that just a few months ago on college campuses, it's still happening somewhat, but of course that got essentially exported to here after the October 7th massacre. Just weeks later, maybe let's say a couple months later.
Yeah, it's usually like 6 weeks.
6 weeks of mourning, and then all of a sudden it turned on Israel, and we had those massive protests on college campuses across the country. Even today, we have at high schools in Washington planned walkouts in support of, a support essentially against Israel. There's an ad for it right now. 365 Days of Genocide is what they're calling it. Walkout for Palestine, which is happening today. And so we have that still happening, not only now on our college campuses, but now in our high schools. And it's a sober reminder of where we are. And just reading comments today, I saw random celebrities posting support of Israel, and just to go through the comments quickly, and some of them were very much still to bring them home hostage kind of comments. Yeah. And the first ones are, "You got to be kidding me," right? These kind of comments on nothing controversial, on nothing political, on just, hey, the hostages are still there, still over 100. And we need to take care of it. But still, the comments from what seems to be the American people are saying, "How dare you, David Arquette, a random celebrity posting something that should not be offensive to anyone." But it is, and it's, again, a sobering reminder of where we are today, a year later, you kind of dreading this anniversary coming up today, because it's not a situation where the world came together. It's actually a situation where the world was very separated.
Yeah, the world came together for 2 weeks, which is what we do for Israel. If you watch the initial news reports, they've done a good job of this. Maybe we can pull it for the second half of the show. It's on social media. The first couple weeks where this happened, you saw CNN anchors, MSNBC anchors, international anchors, BBC crying on air about the babies who were killed during the October 7th attacks. I know that just at one kibbutz, 40 babies under the age of 1 were killed, and the woman had to say some decapitated. Yeah. I think this was international media. And yet, if you go and watch those same media reports now, you will mostly hear about Israeli supposed atrocities, though they never have video of it. They can never show it to you. It's all reports from the Hamas news agency or the Palestinian Authority news agency. They don't have real-time video. They don't show you these people getting killed. But you know what Hamas did? They did wear body cameras that showed the world, if you want to see exactly what they did inside Israel and who was guilty. And again, we know that the UN had its own staff working for Hamas and helping to plan the October 7th attacks. And the UN has said our staff is universally immune from prosecution. Even if they're on one of those videos killing someone, they can't be prosecuted because they also worked for the UN. It's disgusting at a point in time. And I think it's actually just pulled back the veil of evil in the world and why the good guys have to keep standing up. And you have to stand on the right side of history, whether or not it's the popular view at your college campus. Because I think at this point, too, these they're not kids, they're adults. Stop calling them kids. They are adults for purposes of the United States, because those same age kids go and fight and die for the United States of America in our military. They have the internet. They could see what Hamas did. If they're okay with that, then they're just as evil. Now, they can use their speech. You can't do anything about that. Of course. But if they start calling to kill or calling, that's not protected speech. And we live in a place where you can be canceled because you joined movements that were disgusting or that trouble the kind of nation to its core. So I hope that for most of these young people who came out flying Hamas flags, that follows them and ruins them for the rest of their life, because they know what it is. There's no excuses anymore. For these high school students in Washington State, I guess it's their parents really who are pushing this, because
Manipulating.
that I don't even think that most of them would even have the search access allowed to see the amount of depravity used by these terrorist groups. But the older ones in those classes too, they know how to get. They know what Hamas did. See, that's what I'm telling you. The media, no one said that this was this purported by Israel. The media fully accepts the atrocities, the rape, the killing of children, the decapitation, burning people alive, all in one day, and then taking over 200 people hostage. No one is saying that that's not correct, and yet they're still siding with the Palestinian Authority and Hamas.
For some reason, it feels like, and when you brought it up, a lot of the focus is on the music festival, and that happened. Obviously, it was an incredible atrocity. But it does feel like the children and the kibbutzes have kind of been forgotten, that all happened as well.
Right.
Because that was sort of
they don't have a voice.
It was a different kind of undertaking than the music festival portion of it. So we do have to remind ourselves of that, because that one is one I don't even see people talking about anymore.
Why? It's because when they were killed, their whole family was killed.
And it's much tougher to hear. It's weirdly, because you're talking about children and families. It's
easier for the news
to kind of just go, oh yeah, it was the music festival and a bunch of adults, teenagers and adults got killed, which is, again, horrendous. But it's not. You can't go on there and defend any of this. And you're right that it is a sad thing that has swept this nation.